pleasant good morning to one and all. Welcome to today's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Today is Wednesday, the 12th day of June, 2024. Oh, what a glorious morning. Oh, what a glorious day. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to this episode. And we start off by telling you, share the life, share the life. We have so much to tell you today, so much to tell you. Share the life, let people know that we are on. Anyhow, when I see the number of students in the schoolyard, a record number of students in the schoolyard, I know that the word has gotten around that we are going to be on today and that we're going to bring you the credible and valuable information. But we still implore you to share the live, let people know. My colleague, Mr. Conway, is perhaps even more anxious than he usually is to join us. He's already in the studio. I know the students, you all are there. You were so many in the schoolyard this morning. Some say that they braved the weather to be here and to be in the schoolyard. And since we went live a few seconds ago, the people are pouring in. I got to caution you to be careful. Take your time. Everybody wants front bench. Everybody wants front bench. But this school, this class has proper acoustics. So whichever part of the class you're seated, you are still going to be able to get the information. And you're going to be able to see us. You're going to be able to get the information. This is a glorious day. This is a day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. We have to give praise and thanks to the Almighty for allowing us to see this new day. Oh, yes, we have so much to tell you. Yesterday morning, when I announced the program, I told you, for those of you who follow the announcements, those of you who have subscribed, those of you who have followed the page on Facebook, would have seen the notification that we are on today, and the two subjects that we had highlighted to deal with would have been the decision of the government to stop using the word Negro to describe Guyanese of African descent. And we said this allegation that a male senior officer in the Ghana police force raped or sexually assaulted a male junior rank. Those were the two subjects that we were to deal with. But then we had this explosive revelation of the sanction against the Mohammeds and the companies and the PS, former PS Home Affairs. And I had to put out a second notification to say, hey, this is what we're going to deal with today, this sanction issue, because this is the topical issue. And we don't want to allow it to go another day. We say we're going to bring it to you today. So that is what we are going to be dealing with primarily. Of course, we have the usual roll call, we have notifications to make, and then we are going to go into that. And let me say to you very, very early, because I see many of you are here, it is going to be difficult for us to get through all of that today. Definitely we will not be able to go into the other subjects. That is the decision to stop calling Guyanese of African descent Negro and all that transpired there, and this sexual assault allegation. We're not going to be able to go into all. But let me tell you up front, we're coming again tomorrow. So make your arrangements. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we are going to be here again to either continue on this subject that we're going to deal with today or to pick up on the new subject. We can't allow you not to get this information. We can't allow you not to get this teaching. So we are going to do everything we can to be here. All we ask you to do is to appreciate us by hitting the like button, give us some emojis, and show your appreciation for the efforts we continue to make to bring this information to you. Yes, glorious day. This is the day that the Lord has made. Count your blessings, you got to sing, man. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, name them one by one. And it would surprise you what the Lord has done. Oh, yeah, I can sing. People telling me I could sing. So I'm going to practice. I can sing some more. A little later. Yes, but we are going to be here. We're going to give you the information. And as I said, roll call. The roll call is going to be a little lengthy this morning, but we're going to still give it to you. We have a format, and we're going to stick to the format. We're going to do the roll call, and then we're going to come, we're going to do the announcements, and then we're going to give you the information. So the first man, and this morning, the program was scheduled just around 5 o'clock. And we had John came in, and John was followed by Wayne, and then Patricia, who came in at 5:15 this morning. Students came in very, very early. Then it was Mary, and Mary was followed by Brennan. He went away and he came back. Then we have Carlisle, and out of the UK, Wayne was here. Then we have Mandela, and Mandela is saying here, he says some stuff here, topic hot today. Of course it is. Then after that, we have Raul, and Raul was followed by Vibert. And this is Vibert Larson. We have several Viberts. 9066 was its regulation number. We have several Viberts. So we talk about Vibert Larson. And then we have Rohan came in next. We have, after Rohan was followed by Floyd. As I talk to you, I'm trying to fix the cable for the power. Oh, I think it's fixed now. Right, so he was followed by Floyd, then Machu. After Machu, who came in the schoolyard next? Ronald. Ronald came in. Then Jakey. Jakey was here. Then after Jakey, it was Winston out of the UK. And I think I forgot to tell you that Wayne is out of the UK too. Then it was followed by Joseph. And it's a lot going on in Guyana. We're going to talk about what is going on. Eric, 8218, come out from New Jersey, is in the house. Then Derek Trati, welcome Trati, followed by Winston. And Winston is from California in the house. Sean from Schenectady is in the house. Ex-Sergeant Sean is here. He was followed by Joan, then Anthony, then Courtney, 40 Saul, followed by Brian Saul. They are both, Courtney is from New Jersey, I know, and Brian is from Brooklyn. And then out from Canada, we have Gaston, my squad mate, 9556 Taylor. Another combat is here. This is Fergus. And then we have Lynette from the UK is in the house, followed by Sharon, who is also from the UK. Aileen, our female umpire, is very much here. So she's enjoying the cricket. Then Evelyn is in the house. Evelyn is followed by Corinne, then by Cecile, Anthony Bradshaw, 11033. The last time I think I gave a wrong number. These things happen from time to time. And then Carlton, my squad mate, Lois, is in the house, 9430, followed by Melissa, followed by Organized Chaos. Organized Chaos is here. And Organized Chaos is reminding me to send the details, the email. Sir, please remember the details. I think the emails. I did send the emails to those persons who sent me email address. So and he's talking about the email into the Commission of Inquiry into the plot to assassinate President Granger. I did send them out last Thursday after the program, but if you did not get it, send me an email and I will make sure that it is sent. Kenneth came next. Then we have Delta 9 Media said the same thing. Did not get the commission. Something is wrong because I am sure I sent it to Delta 9 and I didn't get any bounce back. So something is wrong. Check your email again. If not, just send me back the address and I'll resend it this afternoon when the program is finished. John is here. And after John is Clive. Clive is also from the UK. Bart is in the house next. Bart is followed by Walterine. And after Walterine is George from BV. George Calder, my countryman. And then who is next? Denise. And Denise is from Florida. She is followed by Earl Abrams. Malvok 5 is in the house. He is followed by 12758, Orin King. Next is Sydney. And after Sydney, we have 6123, Princess Earl from Lamar Springs. Out of Canada, Paul Archer, my old shooting buddy, is in the house. He is followed by Malcolm. Malcolm came in at 702. Tilula came shortly after at 704, and Tilula is from Brooklyn. Then we have from Crane, Ulrich is in the house. After Ulrich, we have Lennox, and this is Lennox Spain. He is followed by another person from the UK, Orin. And after Orin is Felicia. Then we have the original African. I'm wondering if the original African is the same as the original black man. If it's, we used to have an original black man. So we don't know if given the changes that have taken place recently, is now original African. And then we have Morton, followed by Lucius Ian is in the house. He is followed by Grantley. Grantley is followed by Clarence. And then Clarence is followed by George. This is George Mars. He said, George said, today a lot of folks suffering from diarrhea and upset stomach. I can tell you about it. Not only that, they're suffering from more ailments. After that, we have Winston came in next. And Winston is waiting for the credible information. Excuse me, so too are all the other students. Then we have Terrence, 9795 from Canada. He was followed by Magnell. Magnell was followed by Glendis. Then we have Stephen, and then Gary. This Magnell is a borrow. Gary is a borrow. Then we have, next was Lorraine. And after Lorraine, we have Pauline, Jean. You see the number we tell you about? We don't bluff, We don't bluff. Keith came next. Then Dexter. After Keith was Dexter. After Dexter was Evanlina. Then Keith. Keith is from Barbados. Keith reminds us here that he's from Barbados. And Emerson came. Then we have Michael. Then Monica. The roll call, as I told you, is going to be a little lengthy this morning, but we're going to get through it. Clifton out of Paris is here. He's followed by David. Then the man from Melanie came next. Francis Keith Rockcliffe is in the house. Then we have Barbara, Vernon, Maureen, and then who was it? It was Leon. And this is Leon Gibbons, because we have another Leon who normally be here. Another Vibort Smith is here. He's followed by Debbie. And Debbie is followed by Henrik. And Henrik is from Florida, he says. And then who next? Rudolph Jr., 12538. How is your brother, Rudolph? Rudolph Jr. is in the house. Akko came next. After Akko, it was Bonita, then Sandra, then Etta is here. She's from Queens, New York. Then after that, we have David. Hear what David is saying. David is saying here that he felt like there was no program for the whole month. But we only had a program Thursday. He said, but from Thursday to now feel like a whole month. And you think we need 3 times a week. Oh, don't get covetous, man. Don't get covetous. You had 2 last week. You want to get 2 again this week. God's spare life. Then we have, next was Don came next. After Don, it was another borrow. This time it's Camille. And then Rhonda Chance. Then my squad mate, BX Charles is here. Wonderful day, he says. It is indeed. Then we have Eric Williams is in the house. Followed by Umi. And Everett is here. And then who else? Philip is in the house. Followed by Maury, Keith, Ezzy came in. We almost at the end of the thing. Followed by Danny. Followed by Lynette. Desiree. Desiree is from Georgia. Court is in the house. Schoolyard Park, I told you Schoolyard Park. Court was followed by Duhan. And then Pamela from West Dem, girl from across the river. She was followed by Grace. Then Carville. Then Inferno Boss. And Josiah. And after that, Kevin Adonis. Carl Hartman, my squaddy from Arizona. And he was followed by another Vibord John. So we have 3 Vibords in the class. Aubrey from Canada. And then it was Marcus, followed by Patricia, followed by May. Then that was another Vibord, the 4th Vibord. Then we have another Saul Grantley. You see, these families are well represented. Then we have Kevin. He was followed by Boo Alexander, followed by Pito, a regular from Queens. Then Mr. G came next. And after Mr. G was Carl, another Carl. Then you have Trevor. Then you have Kerry. Kerry is from Maryland. And then after Kerry, it was Gary, Glenda. Glenda says here that he's from the UK, and you don't ever miss a class. And if you don't get the live, you go on YouTube. Then we have, there's Glenn. I said Glenda, Glenn. And then we have Rastaman. Then Jacko from Georgia. the man from the hills, but he then GT today. That is what Barlet is saying. Sherwin is in the house. Then we have Matthew, Troy, and then Dylan. You see what tell you all is a record number today, Then we have Kevin still alive, followed by Melville. Doreen, my squad mate from Canada, is in next. Then we have El Ben. Ben is represented. The name Ben is represented. Ruth came next. Another Barlow, Moses. Then we have Forbes, and after Forbes it was Queenie. Then Sherwin. Then this wicked man, this wicked student, Setred, is in the house. And then after Setred, it was Howard. And we're coming to an end. Then we have Terrence, we have Lennox, and who else? Chilo came in next. Oh, this thing is getting longer and longer. After Chilo, we had Gordon. Gordon is from Canada. Then we have Patricia, Michael, and the secretary. Secretary came in at 10:39. Then we have Monica. Then we have Russ Ricardo. My friend John from Brooklyn was followed by Russ, then Marcus, then Umar. Then we have Joel, then we have Orville, then we have Dorrit. Gail came next, Marcia, and then Umar. And that was the last for the YouTubers. Then we had Edward came first on Facebook. Karen was next. Abdul, the man from Essequibo Coast. Welcome, Abdul. He was followed by Diane and Letitia and Lynette from Barbados. And it goes on and on and on. So let me make the announcement. That's the roll call. And as I've said, you can see from the length of the roll call that we have lots of students in this. We had lots in the schoolyard, and I can tell you now that we are at some fantastic number. Hundreds and hundreds are currently in the classroom. So yes, the schoolyard was a record number, and the classroom is gonna be full. Now let me the announcements. We start with the sad ones first, and I think the first one I wish to tell you about, we did announce the death of Police Sergeant Ricardo Brummel, who was stationed at traffic headquarters, but he was attached to the commissioner's office as an outrider. He is being buried today. I saw some clippings, some photographs on social media that his funeral is taking place right now. And then we also had the death of retired Assistant Superintendent John C. Ford. His regulation number was 6609. He passed away this past Monday in New York. John, for those older policemen, remember, when he retired, he was the officer in charge of traffic in A Division. So John passed away on Monday. I remember John had a son in the police force at the TSU. He worked with me in the late 80s when I was in charge of Parliament Building, and we used to play tennis in the afternoons under the car shed there, the garage. We used to play. So I remember that. And then we have the death of Police Constable Chester. He was involved in an accident on the 27th of last month at on something on the West Coast Borbies, and he succumbed a few days ago. That, and we also have the news that the mother of retired Superintendent Keaton King passed away. I think it was yesterday. So I want to extend condolences to the relative, friends, and colleagues, in the case of the policemen, of those who have passed, and to hope that those persons rest in peace and rise in glory. Now, we have some birthdays to announce. Today, we have the birthday of police, I think she's a Sergeant Marlene Rodney George, and also Petronella Holly Fraser. They are celebrating birthdays today. And belated birthday greetings to Senior Superintendent Julius Wright, who celebrated a birthday recently. I think Julius should now be on pre-retirement leave because I think the birthday that he celebrated recently would have been his 55th. If that is so, it means that from the 1st of July, he is no longer a member of the force. So he must be rejoicing. He must be celebrating. People feel so glad when this time comes around for you to retire. Also, we had a recent birthday of ASP Trevor Ben, and my squad mate yesterday celebrated a birthday, 9517 retired Sergeant Donald Grittin. 9517 Grittin celebrated a birthday yesterday, and also celebrating a birthday recently was a regular on the program, Everett Leonard, the man from Texas. He celebrated a birthday recently. I want to wish all those who celebrated recently and are celebrating today all the best on your birthday. And to wrap up the announcements, cricket is in the air. Cricket is being played. Right now, I know USA is playing India in New York. And so those of you who are following, cricket is in the air. West Indies play tonight. They play in New Zealand tonight. The only good thing about that, they have moved from Guyana. It's a good thing, in terms of the wicket. And they are now going to play in Trinidad, Toraboro in Trinidad tonight against New Zealand. So let's see what happens there. Let's hope that first match they play against Papua New Guinea, where they struggle to make 130-something runs, don't come back to haunt them. So that is what we have in terms of announcements. I'm going to bring in Mr. Conway now, and then we're going to go into the program properly. Welcome. The introduction was a little long this morning and the roll call. Patiently, so welcome, my brother.
As expected, happy to be in the land of the living. Congratulations to those persons who celebrated their birth anniversary, and my sympathy to Keaton on the passing of his mother. We are with you in your moments of sorrow. A bit about the cricket, I think it's 41 for 3 after about 10 hours. USA batting.
All right, so let me start by updating you. We had no program on Monday, and the reason why there was no program on Monday is because I had to be in court. I got this trumped up false allegation charge against me, sexual assault, 3 counts. I waited anxiously and patiently to have the matter over 3 years running. And when I appeared Monday, the magistrate had set Monday, that's the acting chief magistrate, had set Monday for case management, where the attorneys were expected to say make whatever submissions they had to make, and to indicate how many witnesses, that's the prosecution, they intended to call, and in case a defense was asked for, how many witnesses the defense was expected to call. And that was the case management. That is what was the case management. It was set for 10 o'clock. So me, law-abiding citizen, I mole up for 10 o'clock. It was virtual. And then just before 10, I got a note from my lawyer, one of the lawyers, saying that the matter was called at 9, and one lawyer represented, and I didn't get the details then, but I should wait to enter at 10 and to make sure I was present. I know you enter next day, you're running into trouble. So at 10 o'clock, the matter was called again, and I was allowed in. And the magistrate, the acting chief magistrate, explained to me that what took place earlier. And basically what took place is that the acting chief magistrate will be proceeding on leave sometime next week. That is what she said. And she would not be returning as the chief magistrate. So having been told that, the lawyers decided that it would be best for the case management to be put off to a later date, so whoever the new magistrate is will do the case management and decide how the matter is going to proceed. But I tell you, open mind, what I told you all some weeks ago, that is one of the reservations I had with respect to the matter when it was set for the 25th of June. I said my major reservation is that according to the Attorney General, Anil Nandlal, SC, MP, that the acting chief magistrate is one of those magistrates tipped to be a judge. And he said it was to happen shortly or soon. So my reservation then was that before the 25th came up, this matter, the acting chief magistrate will be sworn in as a judge, and then it will be kicked down the road. This is exactly what seems to be happening. I know, man, you call it intelligent anticipation. That is what you call it. But I'm going to take out my crystal ball, and I'm going to be over man where we deal with the next subject, right? So that is what happened. That is what transpired on Monday. Why we did not have the program. And if I had known that, we would have had it, because it didn't last long. By 10:15 or so, the matter was called and finished. So, well, not finished, but called, and the decision was made. It is now put for the 23rd of July for case management before whoever is the new magistrate, either acting chief magistrate, I think. Whoever is that person, we're going to go again. So whether it's a report, whether it's a case management, we don't know. You're going to be one of those two things. So that is where, there's where we are. Now, let me ask Mr. Conway if he wants to say anything on that case story. 3 years and counting, CC. Those charges were instituted on the 19th of May, 2021, along with the other charge. And up to now, my brother, they said justice delayed is justice denied. And that is exactly what is happening. And let me be fair. When we talk about justice delayed is justice denied, not only for me, the defendant in this matter, but also for the person who's making the allegation. Because if you're making an allegation and we're talking about justice, then you want to make sure that the matter is ventilated fully in court. I, as a defendant, also want to make sure it is fully ventilated and I am vindicated, but it is kicked down. 3 years and counting. Imagine that, 3 years and counting. And they talk about the rule of law, they talk about justice, they talk about all kind of things that are foreign to them. But we're going to deal with that a little later. CC?
I know for sure 3 years is a long time to wait for a trumped-up charge, a trial to begin. But then you will eventually have your day, and you're not going to be like Nanlal and others, that waiting for the DPP to null process matter. You won't take no null process. You're going to finish at no case submission, Paul. So you'll have the glory later on.
Yeah, I'm confident of that, because as people are saying, you do nothing, you fear nothing. You did nothing, you fear nothing. But they come up and the own thing is coming back to haunt them now. This corruption and the vindictive nature, and they're using the police force, they weaponize the police force. It come in. And that brings me into the other issue, that the main issue we're going to deal with, we're going to spend the rest of the time dealing with that, is this bombshell report yesterday of the sanctions. The bombshell report. And let me play the video, the newscast yesterday, Travis Chase. I always say, Travis Chase, Gordon Mosley, when you gave the newscast, you can afford to listen because it makes sense. The language, the presentation, everything makes sense. So I have the Travis Chase newscast, a part of it from what transpired with this thing. So I thought I'd play that for us, and then we will go into some discussion, Mr. Conway and I, at the end of this year. So Showback, pull out your popcorn, get a good seat, and listen. Here it goes.
Businessman Nizar Mohammed, his son Azruddin Mohammed, their company Mohammed's Enterprise on Lombard Street, and the Labour Ministry's Permanent Secretary and PPP Central Committee member May Toussaint Thomas have all been sanctioned by the United States Department Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control. The announcement was made on Tuesday morning. In the statement seen by Nightly News, the U.S. Treasury Department said the Mohammeds and Thomas have been sanctioned for their roles in public corruption in Guyana. Undersecretary of the Treasury for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, Brian Nelson, said, quote, "Today's action underscores our commitment to holding accountable those who seek to exploit Guyana's underdeveloped gold sector for personal gain. The Treasury, in close coordination with our partners in U.S. law enforcement, will continue to take action to safeguard the U.S. financial system from abuse by corrupt actors," unquote. According to the United States Department Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, two other entities owned by the Mohammeds, Hadi's World and Team Mohammed's Racing Team, have also been sanctioned for being owned or controlled by Mohammed's Enterprise and Azruddin Mohammed. The U.S. accused Azadeen and Mohammed's enterprise of allegedly evading Guyana's tax on gold exports and that he defrauded the Guyanese government of tax revenues by under-declaring their gold exports to Guyanese authorities. Between 2019 and 2023, Mohammed's enterprise allegedly omitted more than 10,000 kilograms of gold from import and export declaration and avoided paying more than 50 million in duty taxes to the government of Guyana. Mohammed's enterprise has allegedly bribed customs officials to falsify import and export documents, as well as to facilitate illicit gold shipments. Mohammed's enterprise had allegedly paid bribes to Guyanese government officials to ensure the undisrupted flow of inbound and outbound personnel that move currency and other items on behalf of Azadeen and Mohammed's enterprise. It was Vice President Barajak Dio who told a news conference that the government of Guyana will only act if the United States engages the government. He was responding to questions after a Reuters report that had warned oil giant ExxonMobil about doing business with the Mohammeds.
Government of Guyana will act on this matter when the U.S. engages it officially, if it engages the government of Guyana.
As a result of the move by the U.S. Treasury Department, all property and interests in property belonging to the Mohammeds and Thomas that are in the United States or in the possession or control of U.S. persons are blocked and must be reported to the Treasury Department. U.S. persons and companies are also prohibited from doing any transaction with the Mohammeds or their companies and May Thomas. For May Thomas, the Treasury Department said she used her office to ensure favorable treatment in criminal or civil matters that would otherwise suggest the involvement of the Mohammeds in illegal criminal activity in return for cash and gifts. May has also been allegedly involved in bribery schemes with the Mohammeds family and their business enterprises. May Thomas, who was the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs in April 2023, was stopped and grilled by U.S. authorities after arriving on a flight while on her way to China. Her United States visa was later revoked. She was then placed into handcuffs and her mobile phone seized by U.S. authorities. Her boss then, Home Affairs Minister Robeson Ben, was questioned by reporters weeks later in relation to Thomas. This was his response.
We will get a statement from her, and then we will engage with the authorities as to the happenstance.
Given what has transpired, do you intend to retain her?
This has nothing to do with the question of retaining her. There's no question about that.
So she will remain as PS?
There is no question about that. I'm surprised that question would be raised.
Did you know that she was leaving though for
Of course, I gave permission.
According to the U.S. government, Thomas allegedly misused her position to influence the award of official contract bids and the approval processes for weapons permits and passports on behalf of the Mohammeds family. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
You're the arrogant man as who's Minister of Home Affairs. There's no question about that. Or removal as at PS Home Affairs, that is what he told the journalist, he told Guyana. No question about that. I gave her permission to travel and all that. Wonder if he will maintain the same position now. Wonder if he is maintaining the same position. Because that might be deemed, it might be deemed that he was complicit in this whole thing, right? But we have a lot more to go in. So thought I'll give you this newscast as a background. A lot of things were said there, but we're gonna go into this thing in some detail. And before what I'm gonna do, I have so much to read, but I'm gonna just quickly go through part of what is reported this morning in Stabrook News. I mean, I have the release from the U.S. Treasury, but I have highlighted certain aspects from the Stabrook News article, today's paper. I'm going to go with that. Then I'm going to invite Mr. Conway in to make his remarks. First, this is today, June 12th. It says U.S. cites Mohammed's May Thomas for corruption. Says Guyana cheated of U.S. $50 million in gold taxes. Big scheme, corruption, and the vice president or the second vice president, oh, no corruption, we want evidence. Well, let me say this. The U.S. departments do not operate unless they have evidence. So it is clear that they have the evidence of corruption. And I want to predict, this is where I'm going to use the crystal ball now to say that this is just the beginning. Based on what was said, based on what I know how the system operates, this is just the beginning. Let's go into some of the things. And here what the article says this morning, the United States Department of Treasury yesterday imposed sanctions on businessman Nazar Mohammed and son Azruddin Mohammed over the alleged massive smuggling of gold, and Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Labor, May Toussaint Thomas, was cited for alleged corruption leading to her being immediately sent on leave by the government. That's the government of Guyana. Allegations against Mohammed include defrauding the government here of some 50 million US in taxes from smuggled gold, as well as bribing public officials. Then it goes on to say for Toussaint Junior Thomas, for her part, it is said that she used her office while serving at the Ministry of Home Affairs to offer benefits to the Mohammeds that included contracts, license for weapons, and passport. That's remember what Ben just said, the question of our removal is not to be considered. I'm surprised that you would ask such a question. The US saying that while she was at the Ministry of Home Affairs as the Permanent Secretary, she used her office to offer benefits to the Mohammeds that included contracts, license for weapons, and passports. It goes on, and these are just excerpts, I ain't reading the whole thing. I'm inviting you. You can go and read the article on Starbrook News. The Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC it is abbreviated, a financial intelligence and enforcement agency of the U.S. Treasury Department, designated Azruddin Mohammed and Mohammed's enterprise, and the quote, for being persons who have materially assisted, sponsored, or provided financial material or technological support for, or goods or service to, in support of corruption, including the misappropriation of state assets, the expropriation of private assets for personal gains, corruption related to government contracts, or the extraction of natural resources, or bribery that is conducted by foreign persons. We go on, the same office also designated Nazar Mohammed as the father as being a foreign person who has been a leader of official of Mohammed's enterprise, an entity whose property and interest in property are blocked pursuant to EO 13818 as a result of activities related to Nazar's tenure. Now, before I go on, you might want to know when they talk about pursuant to EO 13818. We teaching this morning, take out your notebook. I had to go, you know what EO mean? The EO is Executive Order 13818. It's an executive order. And let me tell you, in the US, who are the people that can make an executive order? An executive order is defined as a declaration by the president or a governor, which has the force of law, usually based on existing statutory powers. Executive orders do not require any action by the Congress or state legislature to take effect, and the legislature cannot overturn it. So this EO, what they're talking about here, remember, let me read about. They say also designated Nazar Mohammed as being a foreign person who is or has been a leader or official of Mohammed Enterprise, an entity whose property and interest in property are blocked pursuant to Executive Order 13818 as a result of activities related. So it's an order from right at the top. The executive order, because remember, this is not, they say it's for either government or the president. This is not a government issue. It's not the government in New York. This is the president issued this order, this executive order to have these things done, have these sanctions put in place. It goes on to say, as for Toussaint Thomas, The same office designated her as being a foreign person who is current or former government officials, who is a current or former government official, or a person acting for or on behalf of such an official, who is responsible for or complicit in, or else directly or indirectly engaged in corruption, including the misappropriation of state assets, the expropriation of private assets for personal gain, corruption related to government contracts on the extraction of natural resources, or bribery. And then the last part of this I'm going to read to you when they talk about the Magnitsky Act. I'm going to explain all of this to you a little later. It was issued. It was the U.S. Department of Treasury Office of Foreign Asset Control that instituted the sanction, as it referenced the global Magnitsky Act, part of the country's law that authorizes the U.S. government to sanction foreign government officials worldwide that are human rights offenders, freezing their assets and to ban them from entering the U.S. So we got to unpack. So first of all, this order is an executive order, and executive orders such as this are made by the President of the United States. So this is big. This is massive. This is massive. So we are going to dissect everything that took place, and we are going to bring the news to you. As I said, this is a good day. This is a good day. They talk about corruption. They link down. And let me understand this clearly. Those who know me know I have always been against corruption during my tenure on the force and afterward. Don't mix both with corruption. But they run after the small fish. They run after the small fish. And they are involved in U.S. billions and billions of Guyana dollars. And they believe they can operate with impunity. Well, let me say this. Impunity only relates to Guyana and the weaponized Guyana police force. So they aren't going to investigate you and they aren't going to charge you. But the big brothers, the people are watching. The people are watching and the people know exactly what is going on. And let me bring in Mr. Conway, let him have his say, and then we're going to continue. I'm going to continue a little while. Conway, Cici, can't have the goal. What do you say, my brother?
All right. And like you, Paul, I'm thoroughly against corruption. And I could blow my own trumpet. I remember putting persons before the court. I remember charging police for corruption. And personally, I remember putting a man in front of the court for corruption who offered me a bribe. And I remember, as an assistant commissioner of police, I went to court 34 times. I repeat, as an assistant commissioner, I went to court 34 times. They're waiting for day that when I won't turn up and they dismiss the case. For the matter, the defense counsel told me, he said, I'm going to wait for day when you don't turn up and I'm going to tell him, I said, Your Worship, this assistant commissioner has no regards to the court and I asked for the case to be dismissed. And I testify. And after I finished giving evidence and had a rigorous cross-examination, the guy changed his plea from that of not guilty to that of guilty. But let me talk a bit about corruption. And we say we're in a training mode and tell you some of the key elements of corruption. And the key elements of corrupt behavior are that the conduct, one, is prohibited by law or rule. Two, it involves misuse of position. And three, it involves a reward or personal gain for the officers, or it could be for others, maybe the person's husband, the person's wife, or some friend. So we have, it is prohibited by law or rule. It involves misuse of position, and it involves a reward for personal gain or gain for others. And it took a long time really coming that, since those matters were reported and we heard the arrogance of the Home Affairs Minister. But then I now realize why it took so long, because they had several entities that investigated these allegations. We had one, Homeland Security Investigation New York, Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, Diplomatic Security Service, Custom and Border Protection, Office of Intelligence New York Operation, FBI Miami Field Office, FSI Miami, CBP, there's a Custom Border Patrol Miami, New York Field Offices, New York City Police Department, Drug Enforcement Administration. Over 11 entities did the investigation, and now we have the results. And the Home Affairs Minister was arrogant, and other top government officials they had a wall of silence, and now as things happen, they're running with breakneck speed to take certain action. I remember what they do the first thing then when the PS came back, they put her in labor. They put her in labor. And now perhaps there's a stillbirth. There's a stillbirth, and they send her on leave. Trying to, but they can repay the damage that was already done. So I'm saying is that now is when they're hustling to rush into action, but the die has been cast. The die has been cast, Paul.
Yeah, the die has been cast. The die has been cast. Now let me move on. We got a lot to unpack, And as was implied by my colleague, and as I said, this is massive. This is big. This is gonna reach a lot of people. This is just the start. And I believe, you mightn't believe it, but it is my belief that this is just the opening salvo. The opening salvo. You're warming up, as a marksman. When you go and you shoot in competition, you have what they call, back in, not even in the competition, but back in the day, you have a warmer that you're going to shoot in the bank to warm up the barrel of the rifle. And then when you go into competition, you have sighters. You have sighters that before you have shots to come, you might be either one sighting shot or two sighting shots, and then you start. Well, of course, now you convert and all of that. I know John and Paul are on the live and they understand what I'm saying. You got sighter, get your sighting. These are sighters that are being fired. And these sighters are non-converted shooters. You can't convert these. You cannot. Because when an executive order such as this is issued by the President of the United States, it means that all agencies, CC said 11 agencies involved in this investigation, all the agencies are in, all. And let me say this before we go any further. I have a note, but let me jump forward to it. One of the reasons why we say this is an opening salvo, because executive orders are usually followed by sealed indictments. So there might very well be sealed indictments for a lot of people, including those who were sanctioned. And sealed indictment really means that charges have been filed against persons, but they are under seal. At some stage, they are going to unseal the indictment. And I sitting back and waiting when the indictments are unsealed. Then you're going to hear all the name. Because once it is sealed, you're not going to know who those persons are. You can speculate as much as you want. Because if the Mohammeds have been sanctioned, I'm going to explain to you a little while later the implications of the sanction. All those who are close to them, it simply means that the people get information on them too. Here they tell you about GRA and people facilitating this corruption process and the thing with gold and all of that. The United States, I am sure, are aware of the names of those persons. The United States are aware of the names. Remember, when May Thomas in April last year was traveling through the United States to China, and according to the Vice President, she was on PPP business. This is a permanent secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs traveling from Guyana to China on party business. And you want to tell me these people are not corrupt? And based on the last Congress they had, there's another member, there's another PS in the Ministry of Education, I believe, who's also in the PPP wearing chic thing there and so on. And the Vice President said later on a program, well, nothing is wrong with PSs being members of political parties. What nonsense is that? They're supposed to be above the fray. They are the head of the department. The minister is the political head, and the PS is the administrative head. And they're supposed to be public servants, professional public servants. But the corruption has gone so deep that even the PSs are now political pawns in this whole system. So that's what we have. And I understand. Let me see how bright these students are. This is a puzzle. This is a question. I understand that there are 2 items that are in shortage in Georgetown. 2 items that are in shortage. I'll give you a few seconds to comment and to say what those 2 items are likely to be. I know. What are the 2 items that are in shortage, big short supply over the past 24 hours in Guyana? Going once, going twice. Somebody said chicken, so US dollar, foreign currency. No, the students wrong. No. Yeah, take a next try. No foreign currency, no chicken. The 2 main items. People say US foreign currency. Let me tell you. Pampers and toilet paper. Pampers and toilet paper are in short supply. Pampers and toilet paper are in short supply. I wonder why. People get diarrhea. People get diarrhea. Somebody said rope and poison. That can never be in short supply. Pampers and diarrhea. People going to work in Pampers because when they're taking, they don't get time to reach the bathroom. They don't have time. And if perchance they reach the bathroom, they want the paper to wipe. So it's in short supply. They have bought it out in bales, and bales. And you tell me I must enjoy myself and I must laugh. They say, that doesn't apply to us. They say you can see no laugh, Goldie man. That doesn't apply to we. We got to laugh. They got to laugh. And let me move on a little bit more before I bring in Mr. Conway. I have to give you all a laugh. I said yesterday a post on social media. Ooh la la, the bati biting. Who next? Who next? The bati biting. As they say, you do nothing, fear nothing. I sure by now they have had emergency meetings, you know. I sure by now they meet emergency meetings. I was telling you, the PS was traveling from Guyana to China on PPP business. That is what the vice president said. The U.S. authorities, and you note in this release, they talk about what happened in Miami. The authorities in Miami were involved. Pulled her in, arrested her, put her in handcuffs, questioned her for many long hours. At the end, they seized her phone. They revoked her visa. So when she was returning to Guyana, she had to travel through some other route. They seized her phone. They kept the phone for a long time. And I know the technology. Everything that was in that phone would have been harvested. So when they believe that you rub out and you think, so she get connected, the information as to who called her, what they discussed on the phone, the text messages, the WhatsApp messages, all that are in the possession of the authorities, all. And don't forget, they also pulled in the head of the Guyana Police Force Major Crime Unit, Mitchell Caesar. He was there questioned for hours. And they take his phone too, you understand? They seized his phone as well, and those they would have harvested for information. And I said to you folks that the fact they allowed him to travel from New York to Miami, where he spent some time, means a lot. It means a lot. And I said then, and I'm repeating it now, that if I were in their position, they don't take advice. Anytime Caesar come to me office, he got come in the beer bokta. Let me repeat that. In case you all know he's a bokta, he shars, he brief. But we in Guyana, back in the day, you call him bokta. So anytime he come into me, he got come with a bokta. And he can't wear them strong bokta what the man has hung themselves with. He got wear something a little bit more flimsy so they can see that nothing other than his privates is contained therein. Serious business. Nothing. Yeah, Sean. G-string. You got to wear G-string. Can't come in my office with anything. No clothes, no shoe, nothing like that. And if your hair too thick on your head, go to the barber. You have to come with a ball head. Come with a Yule briner. I ain't taking no chance. Why you want to take chance? So that's why all of these things happen. And I understand. Let me say this. I understand that when he returned to Guyana, he going to tell us son, oh, they don't ask me nothing about you. they did question me, but they didn't ask me nothing about IUDs. They asked about other people. Well, if you want to believe that, you could believe it. But you see what I mean now? Sanctions in your backside. Sanction. That is what is going on. Sanction. And here, this I have nothing against the Mohammeds personally, but what I have is against the corruption. It's the corruption that the PPP and them denying. They denying, oh, you got corruption. Jack, they will like tell you, oh, bring the evidence. Well, you have the evidence now. You have the evidence. What are you going to do? You send home May Thomas Yochoshi under the bus, rightfully so. But let me tell you this. That bus is not big enough to accommodate all the others that are going to be thrown out, right? Because you might be under the bus as well, calling people, come join me under the bus, come join me under the bus. This is big. This is big. And we mustn't downplay it. It is big. And I say it again, it is the tip of the iceberg. Let me see what else I have here to say. And you know, I'm not going to go into the Reuters report because last year, April, I think it was, Reuters, one of the international news agencies, made some serious allegation against the Mohammeds. And Reuters said, and I have it somewhere here, Reuters alleged that they were involved. And what it says, Georgetown, Guyana, just the first part I can read for you. Well, just the headline. Special report, U.S. probing Exxon contractors in Guyana for smuggling drugs and gold. That's what Reuters said. That they were the U.S. authorities were investigating them for smuggling drugs and gold, and the people quoted U.S. officials, and therefore we said since then, right, that this thing is authentic. At least the investigation is authentic. No U.S. official is going to give a quote to Reuters, even though they didn't name and all this everything. That is not true. They were investigating, and they come back, they deny, and then what did they do? What did they do? Let me tell you what they did. What they did. And this is, again, April the 12th, 2023. Global security expert defends Nasser Mohammed's unblemished track record. And I'm going to read excerpts from this, and then I'm going to bring in Mr. Conway. This is a global security expert. So while I read, let me show you what he says. There's a retired assistant director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and global security expert of the BGR group, Tom Locke. That's Tom Locke you see in there. Has defended the reputation of Guyana's most renowned businessman and gold dealer, Nasser Shell Mohammed. And according to excerpts I'm reading, according to Locke, according to him, someone from the Guyana, listen to this carefully. According to this global security expert, someone from the Guyana embassy in Washington, D.C., asked BGR, there's a group headed by this gentleman, to investigate Mohammed, who was interested in reapplying for his U.S. visa, but he has had a number of allegations made against him, even though none has proven to be true. It goes on. Locke, during an exclusive interview with the Guyana Chronicle, said that the individual asked if he would conduct an independent investigation in Mohammed in regard to the allegations and report his findings. He go on, I read an excerpt, the whole thing. He's quoted there saying, I can say that this investigation was primarily carried out in order to erase some of the concerns of the U.S. State Department, or some of the concerns the U.S. State Department had, and to also knock down some fences that had appeared around Mr. Mohammed as well. The former FBI agent related that despite Mohammed's achievement, he and his family have been prevented from obtaining a U.S. visa because of false accusations that were made against him. Some of the accusations range from buying gold illegally from Venezuela, gun running, and drug dealing, to the completely outrageous terrorist financing and murder. Locke said that while he was conducting the investigation, and the quote, apart from finding out that all the accusations were false, I also found out that Mr. Mohammed is a very honorable and ethical businessman who came from humble beginnings and gives back. to people and students many times unknowing to others. He's quoted again here as saying, I believe that Guyana should be very proud of him for his philanthropy, business ethics, and the charitable work that he is doing for the country. He should be recognized for what he is doing for Guyana and not for the false allegations that are out there about him. It goes on again, he said, Mr. Mohammed has not been investigated in the connection with any crime, nor has he been arrested or charged with any violation of any sort. And then finally he says here, to have a man who is so ethical that the only thing that can get you crossed with him is if you do something that is unethical, that he doesn't agree with. It's almost as if he divorces himself from such individuals, and he is very much a believer in his faith and standard business practices. That is what this expert said about Mohammed. So I don't know what happened now. And the interesting thing here, I don't know if you pick it up, that this report was commissioned by the Guyana Embassy in Washington. And if it is commissioned by the Guyana Embassy in Washington, it's we taxpayers. It's taxpayers have to pay for it. And I ask the question, why would the Guyana Embassy in Washington engage a private security company to investigate a matter of this nature? This is not to investigate whether this man is a criminal or not, This is basically an investigation to clear his name so that he can get a visa. That is what they engage this company to do. And all of these things require investigation. I hope that the people in Guyana, the opposition, this will follow these things up. The embassy in Washington they're talking about is Sam Hines, who is based in Washington. So they said that they commissioned this man, the BGR team, to investigate Mohammed, who was interested in reapplying for his U.S. visa. They're investigating him because he's alleged to have committed some crime, but they're investigating him because he was interested in applying for his U.S. visa, but he has had a number of allegations made against him. So what interest would the Guyana Embassy in Washington have in this matter? These things should be investigated. These things should be investigated. They use taxpayers' money. So I guess Locke gonna investigate the Treasury Department now. I guess they're gonna investigate the Treasury Department. Let me bring in Mr. Conway before we move on again. See, you hear that? The Guyana Embassy in Washington engaged a private firm to investigate a matter, basically to clear Mohammed's name because the State Department wasn't giving him a visa. So they took it upon themselves. I said took it upon themselves. Maybe they were directed by someone high up to do so. But it's the Guyana Embassy commissioned this investigation. Your thoughts, my brother?
Shocking, but perhaps the Guyana government didn't pay, they didn't pay for that thing, Perhaps other persons of interest have paid the bill. But Paul, you mentioned already that people biting, and what will happen next? They mentioned about seal indictment. So I'm thinking, the Home Affairs Minister and others, and I could remember that I've never come across a more public figure as a PS than the one in question. She was here, there, and everywhere with the minister, at the fire service, at the prison service, at the police officers' mess. She was there wholly and solely. So he can't say that he know what's going on. And there's something called vicarious liability, that you might not commit the offense, but you're liable for the actions of your employees. Just like me, when later on when I'm going to take action against Ramana for unlawful arrest, malicious prosecution, and so I can't go for Ramana alone. I got to go to this quarter, although he didn't do it. And apart from that, I got to indict also the Attorney General. So there's something called vicarious liability, where you are responsible responsible for the actions of others. And I remember when I was a police sergeant, I always like to tell these stories, a station at the police training school. Then I was an instructor there and I worked night duty. And I reported the next morning to the commandant, was Senior Superintendent Roy Paris. I reported that everything was okay. And he said, Sarge, everything wasn't okay because Roy Paris lived at Robert Walk just next to the police training school. Then. So, Sarge, everything's that okay that you reported? You were sleeping last night? I said, sir, I don't sleep when I'm working. He said, yes, you were sleeping. He said between 10 and 2, you were sleeping sometime. He said you don't have a recruit name, Garfield St. Albans Sobers. I said yes. He said, well, he was at the Robert Walk sleeping in the hut there. And he's your and wasn't he sleeping, was you, because you were the person in charge, and it's a reflection of you. I think that, so this thing they call vicarious liability. We're gonna look forward to see who the persons that will be named or will be indicted. And then we had on quite a number of occasions the Mohammeds made donations to the police force that they accepted. I remember Christmas time, the place was flooded with police in uniform, right there lining up to accept whatever Mohammed was offering. So perhaps they benefit on the earnings, of thing there. So quite a number of persons, I'm certain, will be indicted when those indictments, those sealed indictments, I think. And then again to the Mohammeds, after the story broke, they put up a thing that they're very altruistic, going to schools and donating things that the minister managed had to say, hey, stop it, you can't donate anything, hey, unless I give you permission, building houses for people and going about the place and, like Father Christmas and doing all sort of things, very altruistic, to put up the impression that they are noblemen, as the FBI agent said. So let's look forward and see who would be on the indictment. And as you mentioned, plenty people biting.
Plenty, and pampers and toilet paper in short supply. Pampers and toilet paper. When you talk about association, let me show you a picture. Let me show the audience a picture here. Look, this is a picture you have here. Let me show you this man here. This is the man in charge of Exxon Mobil. Rutledge, I think is his name. This one, you see, this person you see here, this gentleman, is one of the Alfonsos, and these were the people with this show-based arrangement. This is Azruddin Mohammed from Hadi, and then you have this Vikram, the Minister of Natural Resources, Vikram Bharat. Look him here. And then after that, you have Minister within the Ministry of Works. This is Indar, Deodat Indar. And then this person here, this one you have is Degu Boya of National Hardware. So all of them, if you remember this project, the show base, and then following the release from Reuters, Mohammed sold their shares in this company to the other stakeholders, the other shareholders, and they came out of it. So yes, you talk about association, this is what it is. These were the people who are involved. And let me tell you again, the US has all the information. They get all the information. So don't worry. Yes, Luke, Audrey, as a teacher, you gotta get your props. Your props gotta be there, ready. So yeah. So a lot of people involved. A lot of people. And let me tell you something further. We talking about the PS Home Affairs. Some of you may not know the big responsibility. The people saying that she was corrupt in contracts, and they talk about arms and all sort of thing, contract. Well, let me tell you somebody. Well, again, I mentioned it before that a permanent secretary in the ministry is the administrative head, really. The minister is the political head. The permanent secretary is the administrative head. And also, you may not know this, but the permanent secretary is also the accounting officer. So all them billions and billions of dollars that would have been voted in parliament for the various places, and let me tell you the places under the ministry. You know the police, right? You know, accounting officer, the Guyana Police Force, the Guyana Fire Service, the Guyana Prison Service, Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, CANU, the Guyana Registered Office, GRO, dealing with birth certificate and death certificate and marriage certificate. Also, the Immigration Support Services. The Immigration Support Services are those at the ministry. They deal with citizenship and all of that, among others. So this is a massive portfolio that this corrupt person, according to the Americans, was in charge of. And as we know, they remove her after the expose with the after the run-in with the U.S. authorities in New York and her visa revoked. They move her from one ministry to the next. They move her to labor. So she was still the accounting officer over this. And the question is asked to how this woman, an obscure person prior to 2020, became a permanent secretary. Oh, all of those things should be investigated. All of these things should be investigated. How she became a permanent secretary. Was she put there deliberately to get involved in these corrupt practices? Because the people talking about passports, they're talking about guns and all of these things. That is what they are saying. So how did she find herself there? I'm sure she didn't put herself there just like that. And then they say, they talk, well, she's no longer currently released. Let me read the release from, and I'm going to bring in CC after this. Let me read the release that the government gave yesterday. They run with breakneck speed to issue a press release. Government of Guyana press statement for immediate release. This is dated the 11th of June, yesterday. The government of Guyana has taken careful note of a press release issued by the United States Department of Treasury on the 11th of June 2024, which informed of 3 Guyanese nationals and entities as being sanctioned by the department's Office of Foreign Asset Control based on the information referenced in a press release. No, sorry, let me read it back. Based on the information referenced in the press release, the Ministry of Finance and relevant statutory agencies, including the Guyana Revenue Authority, will be requesting additional information on the matters highlighted, with a view to aiding local law enforcement agencies. The government of Guyana takes very seriously the claims contained in the press release and will continue to engage relevant United States entities on these matters. In the meantime, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Labor, Ms. May Thomas, has been sent on leave with immediate effect. The government of Guyana will continue to work with the United States government on all matters of mutual interest, including the respect for the rule of law and order. Man, when I read this thing, I have to laugh. When I read this thing, I have to laugh. This is a Mickey Mouse story you're talking about it. And here again, they're gonna y'all forgive me. I find this thing hilarious. Based on the information referenced in the press release, the Ministry of Finance and relevant statutory agencies, including the Guyana Revenue Authority, will be requesting additional information on the matters highlighted with a view to aiding local law enforcement agencies. The people say that those very agencies are involved in this corruption. The United States saying that people in the government officials, they specifically mentioned GRA. They probably may not have specifically mentioned the police, but they are the ones, the people claiming getting bribed for allow this gold to go and come, people to travel with money and smuggle money out of the country. And you are saying that they are going to be the ones to... I said, this thing hilarious. You're putting cap for watch me. First of all, let me understand, there is no way that the U.S. government will provide information to them to compromise whatever investigation they're doing. The U.S. has a way of saying, we will speak through our indictments. So when it matter got to court, you're going to get whatever information you want. You're going to get whatever information you want. But to say, for the government to say that based on the information referenced in the press release, the Ministry of Finance and relevant statutory agencies, including the Guyana Revenue Authority, will be requesting additional information on the matters highlighted with a view to aiding local law enforcement agencies. It's a view to helping the police to investigate. This thing, you got a senior officer from the Guyana Police Force in the form of Mitchell Caesar. He was pulled in by the US. You ask see anything? You ask see what they asked him? Did he give a statement? Did he tell you what was the nature of the questioning, that lengthy questioning? But you are going to ask, you're going to request from the US agencies more details on this matter? Yeah, go on there. Go there. Go aside. Who you talking to? You think everybody's stupid like you? And then they go on to say that well, the government will continue. The government will continue to work with the United States government in all matters of mutual interest. Well, not this one, because this one cannot be of mutual interest. Note the language. We talk about statement analysis. When they say the government of Guyana will continue to work with the United States government on all matters of mutual interest, including the respect for the rule of law and order. There's no rule of law and order in Guyana. I tell you all over and over that when you talk about rule of law and order, you must define what it means in Guyana, because the regular, universally accepted definition does not apply to Guyana. Does not. So when you talk about the rule of law in Guyana, which the Attorney General likes to talk about, you must say, what is the rule of law in the context of Guyana? Don't come with this broad brush thing, because the rule of law in the United States and those places don't apply. The rule of law in the States saw a former president being charged criminally and convicted on 34 counts of 34 felony counts. The rule of law saw only yesterday the son of a current president being convicted on 3 counts of possession of firearm and related offenses. 3. That is the rule of law. It applies to everyone. In Guyana, allegation made, you have the Vice News thing, where the Vice President, Barra Jagdeo, entertained people who were posing as businessmen in his living room at Pradoville 2. Sue facilitated that meeting in his living room. And then the story is that they went there, and when they proposed this bribe, because it is alleged that he takes 500,000 US dollars from Chinese company to give them contract. We were talking about corruption. You think the US know whether that is so or not? He facilitated them in his living room. And then he says Sue is his tenant. When the lady spring the trap and caught him, Sue is his tenant. What rule of law would have dictated that such a matter would have been thoroughly investigated by independent investigators, not the corrupt elements in the Guyana Police Force, independent investigators. And if the Vice President knew of the rule of law, he would have insisted that some independent body, perhaps the FBI or the people from Scotland Yard, will come, not RSS or RASS, will come and do a proper investigation to clear his name. But there has never been such an interest. None. So there's no rule of law. And this is the same man who goes on the TV and the thing every Thursday. He calls people who have not been arrested, who have not been charged, who have not been convicted with any crime, criminals. And I said this before, and I'm saying it again. If that is the definition for criminal, then the Vice President is also a criminal. Let me understand it clearly. That if the mere fact that allegations are made against you, and then you are determined to be a criminal based on allegations, then the Vice President is a criminal, because allegations have been made against him. He has not been charged. He has not been investigated. He has not been charged, right? So we're saying again, these people know what is going on. The US know. I made the point that when the lady from Vice News asked him, who is Sue? And then he started to stammer for the first time in his life. Who? Sue? Sue? Sue is my tenant. I am sure that the behavioral scientists in all of those agencies, whether it's FBI, whether it's CIA, whether it's Scotland Yard, would have analyzed that tape. I would have come to a professional conclusion as to whether he was lying or not. For me, a layman, he's lying. But the professionals perhaps would have come to a different conclusion. So don't talk about the rule of law. See, I'm bringing CC. CC, they said that they're going to request additional information. The GRA and to assist the GRA and the police, to the Ministry of Finance and GRA will request additional information to assist the local law enforcement agencies. What are your views, my brother?
Paul, both of us did statement analysis with the FBI, you know. And I'm going to read back this sentence. The Ministry of Finance and relevant statutory agencies, including the Guyana Revenue Authority, will be requesting additional information on matters highlighted with a view of aiding the local enforcement agency. With a view of aiding. That's what they get in. They want information so that they could aid them. They could assist them to see if they can duck out, but they can't duck out. Their foot don't get tied up. They don't get tied up like one already. With a view of aiding. Listen to the word. Aiding local enforcement agency. Full stop. They done that. I was expecting to hear some other words following there, but they stop right there. So they're going to talk to the US and give you little information so we could put these people on the alert or we could cover up. But it can't happen. It can't happen. The deal has already, the die has already been casted. So jump high, jump low. They don't borrow the ball that they're going to get this information with a view of aiding local enforcement agency and aiding to assist them to see if they can duck out, to see if they could borrow. But it can happen. The indictments will be there, Paul.
The indictments will be there, and we're waiting for them to be unsealed. We are waiting for them to be unsealed. But let me go on. Somebody asked, to talk about the Magnitsky Act. The Magnitsky Act. And people want to know what this is about. And basically, what the Magnitsky Act, I see Starbuck News spell it Magnitsky, but I looked at the release from the U.S. Treasury Department. It is spelled Magnitsky, the Magnitsky Act. And basically, very rudimentary. It's there. You can go and you can look at it. The act, they said it's a sanctioned program which targets those connected to serious human rights violations or abuse, corrupt actors, and their enablers. So it's something to deal with the corrupt actors and their enablers, and they represent the best of the United States values and enduring commitment to promoting respect for human rights and combating corruption around the world. So that is what it's all about. And how they got the name, they say Sergei Magnitsky died in a Moscow prison after being investigated on a $230 million fraud involving Russian tax officials. Magnitsky was accused of committing the fraud himself by Russian officials and detained. While in prison, he developed a whole set of conditions, and he was denied medical treatment. And after almost a year imprisonment, he was beaten to death while in custody. So he's what this Sergei Magnitsky. This is a man who was part of the the Russian investigator. He accused some tax official of being involved in a $230 million tax, some corrupt scheme, $230 million US. And then they swing the thing around and accuse him as a person who was involved. And based on that, he was jailed. He developed some serious medical conditions, get gallstone, pancreatitis, and all sort of thing he got. They denied him medical treatment. And then they beat him and he died in prison. So this act was enacted around 2016, where a lot of people are banned. Go and check it. A lot of people are banned on the Magnitsky Act, including a commissioner from Hong Kong, a commissioner from somewhere else, I think Dominican Republic or so on, those countries. You see a lot of officials, Russian, Chinese, and a whole slew of people who are sanctioned under the Magnitsky Act. So that is what it is in a nutshell. Now, let me say, May Thomas was removed, or they asked her to go on leave from her position as Ministry of Labor. That's the PS Ministry of Labor. But only recently she was elected to be a member of the Central Executive Committee of the PPP. So what happened there? Have they asked her to relinquish that post as well? I doubt whether, because Dharm Lal, who was at all them big rape allegation, at least 2 made against him, they say he's the 6th most popular man in the PPP. So I don't know if they're gonna ask Thomas to come off. And then the US, the people have said the department has announced that PPP counselor Nazir Muhammad, PPP counselor, is a PPP counselor in the Eccles-Ramberg local government authority. Is he still gonna continue in that position? This thing, as I tell you, this thing now start. We have to wait and see. There are lots and lots of implications. And let's see what will happen. And then we go on to say, we mentioned May Thomas' phone. We mentioned Caesar phone. I understand other people who are pulled in and questioned too. And don't forget Barry Dataram, who recently was sentenced to time served. And let me remind you briefly what happened. Dataram, as a known drug dealer, he was convicted in Guyana for dealing with drugs. And then they had a whole set of story for extradition and all that. He was in Guyana. He's a U.S. citizen. His passport expired, and U.S. passport. He remained in Guyana for years. And then suddenly last year, I think it was, this man decided he got to renew his passport, his U.S. passport, and travel to the U.S., knowing that a warrant was out for him in the U.S. Several things to unpack there. There is no way his passport would have been released or been renewed in the U.S. without the knowing or without the approval of the relevant departments in the state. So he went there to say, all right, give the passport. He traveled to New York, whereupon he was picked up and taken into custody. And here, when I hear about Dataram, I remember Sparrow. Remember Sparrow sing a song, Dolphus? Sing, Dolphus, sing. Sing till your throat get tight, or you won't get this rum tonight. Yeah, a big belly Bajan man, come Trinidad and play in Calypsonian. You know that song? So I suspect that, not suspect, there's no suspicion there now. Because the fact that Dataram was sentenced to time served, he was sentenced to time served and released. It meant that the songs that he sang, there's not one song, this is a whole album. There's a bestseller, big album. The man sing. I am sure names were called, dates were given, places, times were given, and those things would have been corroborated. I recall very well when Dataram left Guyana to travel to the US, and a certain law enforcement big boy learned of that. The man went ballistics. He wanted to know why y'all allow this so-and-so man to travel. Y'all should have keep the man here and keep the man became afraid. All of them biting now. All of them. Because I invite you to go back. I'm going to see if I'm going to find it and play it for you at some future date. There was an interview on HGP-TV with Travis Chase and Dataram. And since then, that's long ago, the man made some startling revelations as to who are some of the people who facilitated his illegal activities. You think he ever called the name when he went to the US? You think the US are not in possession of those names? So y'all wait when the armor start to drop, when the things start to ricochet and bounce around. And I wait. And I don't think it's going to take long for that to happen. Wait, my folks, wait. Sit back. Get your Cokes and your popcorn. Sit back. Now, let me say, as we said before, sanctions are usually followed by indictments. The indictment might be there sealed. At some stage, they're going to unseal it. And here, this thing where you call Carver is a real bitch, you know. Irony of ironies. Only recently, the Attorney General, Mohamed Anil Nandlal, announced that they are doing something, the government of Guyana is doing something to make extradition easier. The feeling then is that they were trying to get certain people from the United States extradited to Guyana easier. But I believe it take a walk two ways. So wonder if they're going to still continue with that, making that bill or making that process easier. Because if it is easier, then I can very well anticipate that very soon people are going to be picked up once the bill passed. Once the bill passed into law, but I believe that now gone on MAD, maximum administrative delay. Then, interest, I don't think they have any interest any longer on making extradition proceedings easier, because many of them might be on the list to be picked up. And remember, there's not only extradition, not only extradition. Remember, the U.S. has a concept called rendition. Roger Khan wasn't extradited. Roger Khan was rendered. And how it works. The U.S. picking you up anywhere you're there, the U.S. come and they pick you up and carry you to the U.S. So in Roger Khan's case, he was wanted in Guyana. He fled to Suriname. They held him in Suriname. And they were extraditing him to Guyana via Trinidad. Listen to this carefully. He was being extradited from Suriname to Guyana via Trinidad. So they took him to Trinidad. And when the plane landed in Trinidad, the U.S. authorities were there to render him, to pick him up and take him to the U.S. So it's not only extradition, where you got to go through the court proceedings and all of that. Not only that, you also have rendition, where wherever you are, they can come and they can pick you up, even in your own country, right? And that is why we said earlier, some days ago, that you have people, even before this sanction came out, they're afraid to go too close to any one of the borders, whether it's Suriname, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Venezuela. They're taking chance to go too close to the border, because you might be flying in a little plane from Ogle to Letem, and then the plane suddenly stop over in Brazil, and then you get a free flight to the US. So all of that. Let me bring Mr. Conway before I move on. I'm sure he has some things that he wants to say. CC, what you want to say on this matter? Tell them you can take all money with this. It's worth the while. We see we have record numbers of students in the classroom. Record. This is the highest number we have ever had. And we still encourage you, invite you to share the live. I'm sure you are finding this information very, very informative, very interesting. So don't be selfish. Share it and give me a thumbs up, man. Give me a thumbs up. Right, go ahead, CC.
Just to add to what you mentioned, that a PS was elected a non-voting member of the Central Executive Committee of the PPP. And also, Mohammed, a member of the NDC on the East Bank. Whether or not they would ask them to be removed or whether they remove voluntary. And then not to forget, that this same Mohammed Enterprise, we're looking at associations and contacts that had a contract for over $1 million to build a new fire station, Durban Park, a new fire station. And up to now, although it is fully occupied, up to now, they can't get no opening ceremony. Perhaps they're afraid that, hey, the U.S. will say, hey, this is a man that is involved in corruption and all kind of thing, and guinea work, associated with him. And then this one, this one might be a bit sensitive. Here is it. A certain attorney of law with close connection with the head of the PPP, with close connection with the head of the CID, is one of the attorneys for the Mohammed. Repeat, a certain attorney at law with close connection to the head of the CID is one of Mohammed's attorney at law. So all sort of things happening. And then we can't rule out, things happening. We can't rule out some violence will take place, some murderous act will take place. Remember paper shots? I remember they couldn't find they couldn't a vehicle went all the way up on the highway, and they said they bought it and they couldn't find the VIN, the vehicle identity number. We had in the United States where Timothy McVeigh and the partner blew up Oklahoma City building where 100 and something persons died, and they were able to trace the vehicle without a big explosion by the VIN. But we not gonna find no VIN, no vehicle identity number to trace anybody. So look, I won't be surprised if we get some violence or if we get some murders. God forbid.
Yeah, and the students are correcting you. You say 1 million. I know, you know what he mean. It's $1 billion he meant when you talk about the new fire
Yeah,
station thing. Is 1 billion
1 billion.
apiece.
Yes.
1 billion. So yeah. Now let me say this. Let me say this. They I understand that some senior law enforcement persons and government officials may have had their visas taken away in the same process already, as part of the beginning of this sanction arrangement. Some of them get a thing pulled, some pull. Let's wait to see, because you know, even though the Treasury will announce sanctions, the State Department will not tell you if someone's visa has been revoked. They will not tell you that. They will tell the person and they will revoke it. And it will be up to the person to tell you so. But let wait, because at the end of the day, things has come out, you know. Things has come out. Is Guyana be there? Nothing hides for long in Guyana. And then the next question that, you know, CC mentioned paper charts a while ago. Ricardo Fagundes, who almost, how many years? I think it's in 2021, was gunned down outside of Palm Court in Main Street at stone's throw from the official residence of the president. And what? Bloodshed investigation by the police. Sergeant Dian Boscom, who was part of that investigation, subsequently alleged that the head of the major crime unit, Mitchell Caesar, was paid 30 million Ghanaian dollars by Nasruddin Mohammed, to duck the case. That is the allegation. As a result of that, Nasruddin sued Boscom, yeah. He has sued Boscom. Matter before the court for how much? $100 million. More recently, Guyanese critic made a similar allegation, and I think he too has been sued. Again, all of these things are going to be looked at by the US. The agencies, the extended squad and them, yeah, they could turn a blind eye to it. The crime chief and all them can turn a blind eye, but the US would have been, are in a position and they would have been noting all of these things. So, you know, they're saying one of the things is corruption, and even one of the things mentioned murder. One of the releases or one of the articles, something mentioned, and that's the one, I think is the writer's report, mentioned murder, allegation of murder. So all of these things. And then I want to know now, because when, if I remember, when Boscom was sued, part of the pleadings or whatever you call it, they said this Mohammed is of good character and Boscom tarnished the character and all of that. I want to know, in regards to this this sanction now, whether you can still say that they are of good character based on what the U.S. Authorities are saying. Are they still of good character? And how would this sanction impact the civil lawsuit brought by the Mohammeds against Boscom, and critics? All of these things are left to be seen. All of these things are left to be seen. Also, the Mohammeds, they have a security company. The security company has lots of firearms, automatic rifles or semi-automatic rifles, pistols and shotguns and all this everything. How is this going to impact? Should they continue to be the owner of a security company? We don't know. Perhaps the extended squatter will seek to find out, because if those licenses are to be revoked, he is the man who is legally responsible for doing so. But I guess he got to wait until Carmichael Sheet give you instructions. So all of these things you have got to look to see. Again, I say this is big. And here, perhaps what is the biggest part we have not touched on yet? The implication based on the release. Sanctions implication. And I'm going to read here directly from the release from the Treasury Department. As a result of today's action, all property and interest in property of the designated persons described above that are in the United States or in possession of or control of U.S. persons are blocked and must be reported to the office. In addition, any entities that are owned directly, directly, indirectly, individually, or in an aggregate, 50% or more by one or more block persons are also blocked. Unless authorized by a general or specific license issued by the office or exempt, the office regulation generally prohibits all transactions by U.S. persons or within or transiting the United States that involve any property or interest in property of designated or otherwise blocked persons. In addition, listen to this carefully. In addition, financial institutions and other persons that engage in certain transactions or activities with the sanctioned entities and individuals may expose themselves to sanctions or be subject to an enforcement action. The prohibition include the making of any contribution of or provision of funds, goods, or services by, to, or for the benefit of any designated person, or the receipt of any contribution or provision of funds, goods, or services from any such person. Folks, this thing is big. What this thing is saying now, this sanction, you can't do business with the Mohammeds, you can't do business with the company. Banks, they say financial institutions. And financial institutions are banks, credit unions. For example, the police credit union is a financial institution where a senior police officer attempted to launder $16.5 million. It's a lot of criminals, a lot of corruption. And again, you think that the U.S. authorities don't know that a senior police officer is alleged to have attempted to launder $16.5 million through a financial institution, the police credit union. All of them bati biting. That is why they have a shortage of Pampers and they have a shortage of toilet papers. Involuntary actions taking place. Involuntary. Because this is saying that whatever assets they have in the U.S., frozen. I know most of them bank accounts, they get foreign bank accounts. That's some way. Frozen, they can't get it. And they're saying that you cannot do business with these people. You can't take nothing from them. You can't give them nothing. So it means that the cambio and all of those things, first of all, he can't do any gold business anymore. Anybody who attempts to go and sell gold with him is violating this, and they themselves are subject to sanctions. And here what the word they're using, where is it, man? They themselves subject to sanctions or be subject to an enforcement action. Listen carefully. Let me dissect this for you. They're not only subjected to sanction, but an enforcement action. In other words, it's lock-up charge. Let me break it down. When they talk about an enforcement action, is an indictment against them. Is an indictment if they attempt to do any business with this. And at banks, whether it's local banks, whether it's overseas banks, the people saying that you can't do business with these people. You can't take nothing, you can't give nothing. That is what it says. You can't provide no funds, goods, services, or anything to them, and you can't take no funds from them. Folks, this is massive. I don't think it has ever happened before in Guyana, and it is massive. Massive implications. Because some of them, they're going to play ignorance, and they're going to continue to say they deal with, and then I'm going to call them wax, they're going to get lashed. Wax, they're going to get lashed. Because again, I say the implications here are far-reaching. The implications are far-reaching. Let me bring in CC, man. Let me get enough for talk. Let me bring in CC. CC, what about this part that I just read where banks, financial institutions, and individuals and entities cannot do business with these designated persons they call. Now, let me make it plain language. The designated persons that they're referencing are the two Mohammeds, the companies. There's Mohammed Enterprise, T. Mohammed, and the Racing Part, and May Thomas. Those are the entities to whom they refer. Let me hear you on this, my brother.
Well, we say, those things have serious consequences, I remember they telling Donald Trump lying get consequences, and those are serious, serious things that they to those banks, those property that they have overseas and overseas that you can't really do business with them. Remember locally they were forced doing that island that they're building off of Breeden Hoop. And the US tell ExxonMobil, you can't do business with this man because this is a man that we cited for certain things and you can't do. And the Mohammed said because of religious reasons they follow. They didn't know when they're going into it that they had religious reasons. And so I know how they did some of them police go make out too, because I think some of them depending heavily on the Mohammeds, especially at Christmas time. Christmas is going to come up very shortly in a month. So the whole thing got some very, very serious implications, and it's mind-boggling what we're going to see what's going to happen, Paul.
Yeah, we're going to see what is up. And it occurred to me, you've had several recent visits. A lot of high-ranking U.S. officials would have visited Guyana in recent time, including the director of the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency director visited the U.S. And I say that the fact that he had to visit, it means that whatever he had to say or do was so important that he couldn't send one of his juniors. He went there himself. And when the CIA director comes to a country, he ain't come to drink coffee, he ain't come to eat salaro or pint tart. He ain't come for the local dish for little cook-up rice or black pudding or pepper pot. It was something serious. That is why he felt compelled to go to Guyana himself. He ain't come for check out how the oil rig working. That is not he work. He did not come for that. He came because it was something very, very serious. Yes, Cheryl, he ain't come for duck curry and roti and dal puri. He came because it was something serious he had to convey himself. I'm not sure if this fallout or this explosive revelation yesterday is part of that. I don't know. But I'm saying to you that the fact that this senior person came there himself in person got to be something serious. He had to communicate. Had to be something serious. So let's look to see what is going on. And remember, I got to read J.H.K. Lal. Somebody's telling me, one of the students, I should invite you all to read J.H.K. Lal's opinion in today's paper. I didn't read it. I know he had a letter that I read, but I can't remember any opinion. And he said back then that what we have today is not a government, but a gang of gangsters. Let me read about G.H.K. Lal. Sometime back, said what we have today is not a government, but a gang of gangsters. For the most part, what Guyanese have for leaders today are nothing but out of control lunatics, pathological liars, unreconstructed racists, and political sadists. That is what he said. And I tell you, when we talk about PPPC, we talking about pedophiles, we talking about perverts, we talking about predators and corruption and criminals. You can substitute the C, either corruption or criminal. And again, now is not we saying this all along, but listen to what the Treasury Department is saying about the corruption that the Mohammeds were bribing government and officials. That is what they say. That is what the people say, not me. And they get all the information. Remember, they harvest all the information from the phones. And they have, I'm sure they have human intelligence as well. So it's not only the intel of phones, they have human intelligence. And that is why I continue to say, if Caesar come to see you, tell him to strip, come with the beer buckler. And if you want to get more sophisticated, maybe you got to do a X-ray or a CT scan, some MRI, some imaging to make sure that you ain't got nothing there to record you and to skin you up. But perhaps it is too late. Perhaps now that is too late. What is to be said, the board has flown. What is to be said was already said. And that is why these sanctions are coming now. And again, the crystal ball, I am predicting that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the tip of the iceberg. More will come. And if it's a tip, let me tell you further how these things work. When you're dealing with issues like this, as far as I'm aware, they don't start from the top and work the way down. You don't start from the bottom and work your way up. So you start from the bottom, and for all you know, as I said, unsealed indictments, and then you're going to sue here when indictments are unsealed, and people are picked up and put into those fancy orange suits, that they too might strike a deal. They too might strike a deal and give up people above them in the corrupt organization. Because corruption, Guyana making the news all the time for the wrong reasons. Corruption. Can you imagine a permanent secretary? And don't forget, not so long ago, the permanent secretary of Ministry of Army and Affairs was caught in a sting operation where a man complained to CID headquarters that she was demanding $200,000 a month from him. He had some contract to provide security, which first his father had. Then the father died, he took over, and she was making his demands. The man got disgusted. The man went to CID, made a report. They marked the money, took the money there, she collected the money. She was arrested and charged. And then what happened? They said the man got to court and said he don't want to give evidence. And I made the point then he should have been compelled to give the evidence. And wonder what happened to she? Wonder where she there? Wonder where is she? But these people come into these positions. These people are put in these positions with the sole purpose of being corrupt. The sole purpose of corrupting. And somebody made the point that this is the same PS, May Thomas, who sent home the lady from Mocha because of something to dismiss her. And karma is a bitch, you know. Karma is a bitch. All of these things will come back to haunt them. Many of them, they have family, they have children. Some of them get young pick-me, young children. They themselves might not suffer now immediately, but them things gonna fall on the children. They're gonna fall. You cannot be doing people all of these unspeakable atrocities and expect you're gonna go scot-free. A lot of people say God don't sleep, he ain't get pajama. He doesn't have PJs, and it will come back, it will catch up. Let me bring Mr. Conway for close, and then we're gonna wrap up, and we're gonna tell you looking forward. CC, we have said about full, and now we have more to say. Your closing, please.
Let me just go back briefly to firearms, weapons. Remember in the report mentioned cited of the PS of in relation to firearms. Perhaps they weren't only talking about firearms and the Mohammeds get a firearm a security. They know perhaps they wasn't only talking about firearms, but the Mohammeds, you know. It can be very, very widespread. But then again, you can't get the police to investigate. You can't put cat for watch milk. Perhaps they might need to do a proper investigation outside of the police thing in terms of firearms. We have a proliferation of guns all over the place. Maybe a lot of people must have gotten their firearms without going through the normal process.
Yes, thank you, my brother. Like how you analyze these things. They talk about firearms, facilitating of firearms. Remember, the firearm licensing board comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So at some stage, the permanent secretary Thomas would have had some direct or indirect influence with those people. All this part, and again, I say to you, I emphasize, they can throw wool over our eyes in Guyana. The U.S. authorities have the technology, they have the resources, they have the wherewithal to make sure they gather all the information. As somebody said this morning, sanctions are not allegations, you know. This when you get a sanction, they're not alleging that you did something. The allegation stage passed, they would have investigated and gathered sufficient evidence. Sanction is an action following an investigation. In this case, they say 11 agencies were involved in this investigation over a period of time. So don't come and tell us, oh, they are alleging that. No. They have the evidence that they have corrupt activities. And the sanctions that were imposed yesterday is as a result of the evidence that they would have acquired during the course of an investigation. So understand this. Understand it. And that is why we're saying this thing is massive. It is massive. And it ain't ending there. This is a start. And you know, somebody said, you know, you got to learn from the past, you know. People say, well, it's the U.S. government put the current government in power. And yeah, remember that they put Noriega in power too? They had put Saddam Hussein in power too. And how they ended up? Noriega ended up in a jail someplace. And Saddam Hussein ended up in a hole under the ground. That is Saddam Hussein from the Ministry of Education, the one from Iraq. So yeah. So let me understand. And they say US get friends. They don't have friends. They have people who they use conveniently, who they align with for certain purposes, but they ain't got no friend. Let me understand this clearly. So let's follow to see what will happen. As I indicated earlier, we're gonna be on tomorrow at 11 o'clock to deal with perhaps following this up and to deal with other issues as well, the ones that we had intended to deal with this morning. But this issue came up and we couldn't allow this to go another day. And I when you look at the numbers that we see, record numbers in the schoolyard, record numbers now on the live, and therefore I think we were justified in deciding to deal with this issue today and kick the others down the line. So we're gonna come tomorrow, God spare life, and we are going to deal with perhaps other issues relating to this matter that we need to explain. I'm going to run the comments later, and if there are questions to be answered, we're going to do so tomorrow. And then we have the other issues. We said we had originally planned to deal with this decision to change the name or to stop using the word Negro to describe Guyanese of African descent. And we were also to deal with the allegation that the male officer sexually assaulted a male constable. And perhaps tomorrow we will get time to deal with that. But again, I thank you for your attendance record. I know when again we can get these type of numbers, thousands. I don't know when again we're gonna get this type of numbers, but I suspect it has to do with the subject matter. And I suspect too, we would have had a lot of virgin users and people who come for the first time. Hope you would have been educated, hope you would have been informed, and this will encourage you to come again and be on this program. We come here to talk the truth. Let me understand this thing clearly. We come to bring you the information. The information they don't want to get to you for whatever reason, we bring it to you. Even when they issue these statements like the one they issued in the matter yesterday, we are able to analyze and to dissect for you because we are trained in that regard. So we're able to do this so you can get a better understanding of what it means. So folks, again, I say thanks for your attendance today. And if God should so will, tomorrow, I'm going to put up the notification, but tell people that tomorrow at 11 o'clock, tomorrow, Thursday at 11 o'clock, we're going to be on this platform again for another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. And until then, let me hold on. Until then, stay well. Remember, I always tell you, the roads in Guyana are dangerous. So you have to make sure you stay well, do everything to protect yourself, your loved ones, and we will see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And so long, bye, stay well.